Hello and welcome to the Five Factors Podcast. I am Tal Prince here with my favorite leadership instructor and guru, Matt Adair. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm coming up on my 14th anniversary here at Christ Community Church as their lead
Wow.
pastor, which means that I am part of a church that is full of patience and long suffering. So they
I
have
remember I
survived.
I remember when you were interviewing for that gig.
Yeah,
And I remember I was a reference, which was a bold move on your part.
it really was.
It was bold. But I remember talking to them about you and doing my best to sell you. So you have me to thank.
Apparently, it worked. You know,
Yeah, you have
some people just prayed. You apparently just relied on your ability to sell, and that's great
you're welcome.
because here we are, 14 years later. So,
You're
yeah, I'm
welcome.
doing well. So Father's Day every year. So my first Sunday as the lead pastor of Christ Community Church was Father's Day 2004.
Yeah.
And so here we are coming up on Father's Day this weekend, and so 14th anniversary. So I'm doing well. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm interested and infatuated with the name of this episode, the name that you gave it. I don't think we really like post titles to episodes, but this is one that I think we should. This is called "No More Saturday Night Specials."
Yeah, I mean, I think what we wanted to do was talk about as it relates to work. I mean, what's an overlooked reason why we're so tired? So here's how we'll set this up. So when you are preaching regularly, Tal, when did you typically finish up sermon prep?
Way later than I would have liked. You know,
During the special music right
yeah.
before I got up on.
Yeah, just scrambling and writing. No, this is. I was when I was pastoring. I was bivo, so I had a full-time job at Beeson Divinity School at Sanford University, and so I was putting in 40 hours a week there. So I was thinking through sermons and illustrations and all that stuff. But really, we worshipped on Sunday night. So the truth of the matter is, since we worshipped on Sunday night, I was not anywhere on Sunday morning, and so my sermon prep got done Sunday morning. I'd work on it all day Saturday, and then I would really wrap it up on Sunday. A few short hours before worship was to begin.
And was that one of those things where you're like, I mean, this is just the time I have available, so just deal with it, pal, or was it one of those things where you're like, no, I mean, I really thrive working kind of this late in the game?
I would like to say it was because that's all I had available. But what I found for me was that's just how I work best. And a lot of us do, and a lot of us can't handle that type of stress and pressure. I find that stress and pressure helps me really kind of focus in. I've finally gotten to the point where I get asked to speak at a lot of conferences and different things, and they always ask me for my slides or my PowerPoints, like 6 months ahead of time. And I finally just started telling people, hey, listen, that's cute. I really appreciate you, caring about it that much. But the fact of the matter is, and you may not like hearing this, I'm probably tapping that out on the flight. So I'm not going to have them for you. And so if you're like really interested in a nice 3-ring conference binder with my PowerPoints, it's not going to be there. I'm going to really be hammering that out on the way. Now, the difference is I plan to do that. That doesn't sneak up on me. It's not like, oh, crap. When does that thing do? Oh, it's I plan that window, to work. I find I work really well in that window, and so I plan to do it. It's an intentional act, but not one that works for everyone, for sure.
Yeah, and the reason we're bringing this up is because the last round of research that I did as it relates to preaching, what we found is a lot of preachers that were scrambling to finish their sermons on Saturday night. Hence the Saturday Night Special, a title for this episode, also a great Leonard Skinner song, and so. What we wanted to talk about today was the fact of the reason this is happening is because there is a lack of preparation, or there's a lack of ability to follow through on preparation. So what that's leading to are pastors and preachers walking in, doing their most significant work with a lack of sleep and increased stress. And so just so we're clear on the impact that that has, so you don't just shrug that off, talk a little bit about the impact that stress has, that a lack of sleep is going to have, even in just kind of that one night. You know, that's Saturday night, I wake up Sunday morning, I have one or two sermons I need to preach. How are we going to be dealing with that emotionally, physiologically?
Yeah, it's going to really, in short, jack you up. And this is another reason the episode is called No More Saturday Night Specials, because in the lyrics of that fine Leonard Skinner song is Saturday Night Special, you'll wind up, it'll put you 6 feet in the hole. All right. And that's what's happening. I mean, quite literally, it'll kill you. That type of stress and anxiety is not good for everybody. The difference is, when you plan to do that, it's a different matter. When you planned to start your sermon on Monday or Tuesday or whatever your day of the week is, and then stuff happened, and the people from the church were calling, and they had problems and they had challenges, and then there was a deacon meeting, and then there was an elder meeting, and all these emergency things came in, and your stuff got pushed to the side. Guess what? You're already angry. So there's irritation, there's anger, there may be some bitterness, there may be some resentment building up, and then now you're not focused on the word, right? You're not in a really great spiritual place of preparation, because now you're going to be really prone to passive aggressively whip your people with the sermon because you resent them. And I think one or two of us have been there before. You may not know what I'm talking about, but some of you probably do. But what happens if you're up way too late Saturday night and you're trying to crank that sermon out, and you're sweating it out, you don't get the sleep. And we talked about this briefly in the last episode. Your circadian rhythm is so critical. It's so important. And if you jack it up, depression, you're a greater risk for depression, greater risk for anxiety. You're going to be highly irritable, which is not the best place to go into leading God's people in worship. That's not the best mentality to go in with. And you're going to snap. You're going to snap at your staff. You're going to snap at your family. You're going to snap at people in your world. You're just going to do it. And so it's just not the best way to go about it unless you're somebody who knows that pressure works well for you and you plan to do it. You just know that's what's coming.
Yeah. So all month long, throughout the month of May, we're focusing on helping you do your best work, helping you do great work as a leader in your church. And so we have said that if you're going to do that, you need boundaries, you need priorities, and you need focus. And today what we're going to do is to take, for those of us who are lead pastors, senior ministers, your most significant work of preaching, and we want to apply some of this to that. So if you're listening and you don't preach consistently, that's not your role in a church, then go ahead and just work on applying this and translating this into your most significant work, whatever that might be and what that might look like. That's what we're really focusing on here. Because what we're going to say is, if you want to preach your best sermon, if you want to do your best work there, or whatever it is that is the most significant work for you, then you need a schedule. And so again, if you notice that I said this earlier, that what I'm not dealing with is the person who everything lines up for them to do their best preparation on a Saturday night. There are people who do that. That might be you if you're listening. I'm talking about the person that feels like they're scrambling.
Right.
The person who feels like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to have this ready. That's who I'm talking to. And what we're convinced is that scrambling is going to increase stress. That's going to sap your energy. And so your ability to be a human being, not just a talking head, but to be a human being that God is using in the pulpit or on the platform, that is going to be decreased because of choices that you're making. And so what we want to do is to help you leverage a simple, basic schedule to help you get ahead so that you're not scrambling to preach your best sermon. So 2 things that I would say that you need here, and these are very simple, okay? Number 1 is you need to schedule your preparation. You need to know what it takes for you to go from an idea to a message that is ready to be delivered. And so that might, for some of us, that's going to work out different ways. That might mean that we can do that spread out over a number of days. It might be a half day, a couple of half days, a full day. I think, I'm assuming that you kind of know what your rhythm is best, but you need to actually go ahead and put that on a calendar and then protect that time and then show up there. But you need to make sure that you don't just take your preparation for granted. This isn't something where all of your other meetings, everything else gets scheduled and your preparation doesn't, because then you're just assuming that you're going to have the time to do that. But if you're crowding it out with everything else, then you're just going to basically be trying to shortcut your preparation, or you're going to be scrambling, trying to get it done late on Saturday night into Sunday morning, sometimes during the gathering before you get up and preach, to make sure that you're ready.
Yeah, and you really want to put that on your calendar. That's what I mean. I really agree with that, Matt. That's got to be there. Otherwise, things are just going to crowd you out. And the costs of this are legion, but primarily relational costs. I can tell you who's going to suffer the most besides you from not scheduling your preparation in, and that's going to be your family.
Yeah,
because the time that you're going to make up is going to come from them.
Yeah.
That's a critical thing to remember. And that's why so many pastors' families resent the crap out of the job.
Yeah, I was at an event last summer and had a guy who I was coaching. I was talking to him, and his wife was registering them, and then she came over, made the introduction, and she just gives me this massive hug. I was like, okay, maybe she's just a hugger. That's great. But she looked at me and she said, "Thank you for giving me my husband and my kids their father back on Saturdays, because we were working on this." And for that very, very reason is that, because we had built in a very simple schedule, and this is a person who didn't like a ton of schedule. So I'll tell you what I told him, which is you need just enough structure to help you show up when and where you want to show up. That's it. So, this isn't something that you have to become some, master 9-level deep in terms of your scheduling and calendar. It just means that take the next step. If you want to be done before Saturday, then do what you need to do, at least on scheduling your preparation to make that happen. Now, the second thing that we want you to schedule is we not only want you to schedule your sermon preparation, we want you to schedule your sleep. We want you to make sure that you are getting enough rest. You're able to recover from your work day in and day out. You're doing this work of recreation. There's something spiritually healthy about embracing your limitations and doing all that. But we want you to schedule your sleep, and we want you to fight really hard to really go after that 8 hours of sleep. And so that's really another area that we just think is absolutely vital if you're not going to find yourself 6 feet in the hole on Sunday morning because you were scrambling on Saturday night. You need to know, hey, this is when I'm going to bed. I'm done at this point in time.
Yeah, and schedule your sleep. I would also say schedule the time with your family. And so if anyone has to pay for your lack of preparation, it needs to be you.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I think one of the best teachers is natural consequence. So, you know what? If your sermon's not all the way done because you didn't schedule the week and you didn't schedule yourself properly, then I think it's best that you go stand in the pulpit and look like an idiot rather than your family pay for that.
Yeah.
I'd rather you walk up to the pulpit and say, you know what? I did not put the time in this week. For this, and I'm not as prepared as I would like to be or as I normally am. I'd much rather you stand there and go through that act of confession and repentance with your people than for your family to suffer because, well, I know I said I'd be at your game, but, I didn't get to my sermon this week and I really got to write this. And I know that may be a little controversial for a lot of you, but I just really think, schedule that, prioritize it, and knowing that if you don't have it done and you haven't spent time with your family, that they're not the ones going to pay for it. That natural consequence will help spur you forward into seeing the need for schedule and planning, and know your body rhythm, know your times of energy during the day. Some of us are morning people, some of us are afternoon people, some of us are evening people. Know that and do your work during the week. Make it happen so that on Saturday if you're doing anything, you're putting just finishing touches on it. You're not sitting down to go, okay, what am I going to preach this week? because I think we all know what happens, and that is you go online and find any one of a million sermons that you can plagiarize and lift.
Yeah.
And then you don't feel good about that, because you're not being honest, and then now you got other issues, and then you wind up in my office, and you really don't want to be there.
Right. Yeah. So what we're saying is, in this episode, the secret that we're trying to pass along is the fact that great work is not an accident. We kind of gave you a way to triangulate this, okay? Because we said, look, you need to schedule your preparation.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us can write that off and go, I'm just a little bit more intuitive. Okay, that's fine. Then we said you need to schedule your sleep. Are you getting enough rest? And maybe you're even able to go, yeah, I'm kind of doing that. So here's the third one is, are you scheduling time with your family? Because this is the one that it gets really sneaky and kind of just creeps in on us, in the fact that we're just like, look, even mentally, forget even just the physical, I'm not there, just the mental, I start to check out way too early. Like I have time where I'm eating dinner on Saturday with my family and I'm there, but I'm not there because I'm already thinking about tomorrow's sermon. And so what we're trying to say is you don't accidentally creep your way into health. And health is for us, not just you delivering a great sermon, but you having healthy relationships with your family, you being physically, emotionally rested. All those things matter. We are not asking you to choose between any of those. We are giving you permission to build a life that says yes to everything. But if you're going to do that, it's not going to be by accident. So yeah, you need to be able to schedule time with your family, especially on Saturday, where for most of us, we're around family. We have opportunities with our family. Everybody tends to be around the house. So how are you doing that? Don't just be accidental. I'm going to give you one that I'm working on this summer. We have kind of developed, I think, a bad habit in our family where kind of after dinner, I'm going to help kind of work on the kitchen, clean up everything there. Linda's going to put the boys down, but I'll pop in my AirPods. I'll start listening to stuff, and I'm kind of done. I'm kind of checked out. And so that's something that this summer that we're just stopping, and we're just not, we're not doing that. So we're fighting really, really hard to be present all the way through the evening together. So that's one thing. Schedule time with your family. Make sure you're doing that. Schedule your sleep. That's one where this is, I'll get real kind of tactical here for you. Figure out what time you need to wake up. Okay. So let's say that that's 6 a.m. Let's say that you need to wake up at 6 a.m. I want you to rewind the clock back to 8 hours, which is going to be 10 p.m. the night before, and go, that's what time I need to try to have my eyes closed and sleeping. Well, that isn't going to happen automatically. So I think if you're going to do this well in terms of scheduling your sleep, you need to give yourself an hour to kind of wind down. Screens need to be off. Got to do all the things you're going to do in order to get ready to sleep. And so for me, if I'm scheduling this out, that at 9 o'clock at night, I'm like, it's time to go to bed, and trying to find whatever trigger is going to help me go, I'm done with whatever I was doing today. The day is over. I'm going to go get ready to sleep to get my 8 hours. And so that's going to take some habits and discipline, but that's what we're talking about there, of scheduling that in. And then that's going to allow you to really go schedule your most significant work so that you can go, here's what I need to do in order to be ready to preach and not be scrambling late into Saturday night, messing myself up holistically because I'm just not getting enough sleep and stressed out, and then messing with my family because they're not getting me. So those are just 3 areas that we are like, look, go and do that. Here are 3 ways that you can improve your work this week. Schedule your time with your family, schedule your most significant work in your sermon preparation or whatever that is for you, and then schedule your sleep.
It's that simple, and that difficult all at the same time.
Yep.
It is like playing the blues. We've all heard a bad guitarist try and play the blues. Every musicologist will tell you there's no simpler form of music to play than the blues, particularly on a guitar. It's so simple. It's just not easy. It's not always easy. So these are some tips that we hope you really kind of bring in and start trying to play with this week. And let us know how that's working for you. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you're noticing in your sermon preparation, but not just that. Let us know how your family is responding. Let us know how your relationships are responding to this kind of change, and this bringing this type of focus into your sermon prep, because for most of you, that is your main work. That is is the main thing that you are doing. And so we want to know how it's impacting your relationships. We have an idea how it's doing that now, but we'd like to see how what we're giving you is improving those relationships. So next week, we're going to be giving you the blueprint for doing your best work. So this is, we've talked about how you can cripple your work, and next week we're going to talk about how to do your best work, and we look forward to sharing that with you. Stay away from the Saturday night special. It'll put you 6 feet in the hole. Until next week, we will see you back here on the 5 Factors podcast. This is Tal Prince with Matt Adair, and we will see you next time.